mics, and we're about to roll again. Welcome, everybody, to the weekly I&E broadcast Inspiration and Encouragement Network. My name is Lou Jensen, and this is the I&E gang. We're all slightly crazy, so if you're a little bit crazy, you'll fit right in. If you're not, you have to kind of just give us all a little room and say, well, okay, these are artistic types, creative thinkers, and they've been together for a long time. We started the I&E Network in 1983. We've been doing this together in every digital form, social media form we could find for over 10 years now, and we've had a show every Wednesday night. The beginning of the I&E Network was to help people discover they had some talent, do whatever it took to develop that talent and master that talent, something, and then learn to share that with the marketplace and the economy. And my own career started in 1977. I started carving eggshells with a high-speed dental drill, and all it was just a crazy hobby. I just couldn't put it down. I enjoyed it immensely. And so I started with one thing to another thing to another thing to try and develop it into something that could allow me to actually retire from dentistry. It took me 3 years to pull that off, but I retired in 1986, and I've been playing for a living ever since. And what started out as my story to begin with quickly became our story, which is what we talk about and promote from here on out. And so perhaps there's something here tonight that will help and move your story along, because that's all we need for our triple combination is you. Thank you for sitting in. I never know who's watching. I never know who's dropped in or found us off of Google especially. So if you're new, pull up a chair and sit down and take a little bit of some notes and some ideas that might really help you in the process of learning how to market yourself better. There's just almost nothing more difficult but nothing more fun when you begin to get a handle on it and learn how to target your marketing on a little higher basis. Almost all of us try to start our marketing with our families and friends and people we have easy access to. And the problem with easy access is it's generally not overly productive. You really have to learn to fish in a different pond, and that's what last week's show was all about, was marketing in a different place, in a different way, in different manners, so that it's more appealing to the upscale customer who can actually afford to pay whatever it is that the fees are. So as we start into this today, I wanted to first I'm going to light it up and get the screen going so you can kind of stay with me. I've got one quick little slide series I want to start with, because this hit me today really hard. Came up on Google Plus. Ignoring your passion is slow suicide. I've never heard it said that way, but it is absolutely the truth. Never ignore what your heart pumps for. Build your career around your lifestyle, not your lifestyle around your career. Okay? That's all I've done. Pick up a thread of interest and made that my life rather than my life and my living, instead of the other way around. You were created with dreams in your heart and hope in your spirit. Now go and bring your dreams to life. God, this is just, why do it for any other reason? We're going to talk about fishing big time. This whole marketing effort, to me, marketing is the fishing process. You know what you're after, you know what you're targeting, and you've got everything you need, but you're going to learn how to fish differently now. I wanted to also announce the extravaganza this year. Easter's coming up like a fast freight train, and my next show will be the 2016 extravaganza. This is where my whole life started. We were doing Pisaki designs on eggshells with the kids for their Easter decorating contest, and I got the idea of cutting out. And isn't this unique? When I saw this week, I just went, oh my God, it's got some serious good looks to it. Very, very different. Very, very unique. And I thought, I got to put that up this year and brag about it. That's so attractive. So as we start into tonight, and we're looking for, oh, wait a minute here. Oh, I have made a little mistake. Gang, you're going to have to hang on just a second. I have the show pulled up, and I forgot that it was a movie file. Let's go back here and do it this way. Oops, we don't want that. We want to part one. We did that last week. Oh, I made a serious mistake here, gang. Hang on just a second. I'm sorry. There it is, right there. Where did I put that? I had it up right after the show last week, and then I put it away. No, we don't want it on the web. Well, let's go see if this is it. Nope, it doesn't look like it. Oh, there it is, right there. All right, there we go. All right, we got a screen up. Ordinary Miracle. I never know who's next. I never know who's out there within the range of me and how far this will actually reach. But usually there's somebody that really needs to hear this. And when I've gone through and made the effort to put the whole thing together, what I'm really trying to do is teach myself. But one of the greatest sayings in my journal is, if the dream is big enough, then the odds don't.
Excuse me, Lou, your voice is breaking up. Is it breaking up for anybody else?
Yeah, I'm getting a breakup too.
Okay.
On his mic.
On the microphone. All right.
Your audio is breaking up.
Can you hear me now? I took out the audio jack. Is that better?
No.
No.
It's like you've got two things going.
You've got an echo in your mic.
Do you have a second tab open?
That's even
That
worse.
I didn't think I did. Okay.
Sounds like you've got an echo in your mic.
Well, let's stop the screen sharing and see what's up here. Still there?
No.
Everyone else should mute their mic.
If you got your mics off, then it should work better. All right, let's go back and light up again and see if this is going to help. All right, we'll try this one again. I've always cultivated dreaming big, and I try to keep my brain in a place where the things that matter most are the things that I concentrate on the most, and I'm not always successful at it.
Lou, it's really still bad.
Well, I don't know how to help you. I don't know what to do here. Maybe I can go out and relaunch the whole thing and try to just clean it up that way, see if it'll do that, okay? If it's really bad, we don't want to go forward with it. Let me kill this, and I'll go launch it again.
Gosh, we haven't had this much problem for a long time. Hi, Jay.
Hey, Tam.
Did you get your order okay?
Yes, I did. Got that in, got some work done, and got 2 pieces finished up and sent back out to the Harley dealership.
Oh, good. How's that going?
It's going slow. I mean, they were waiting for one of the pieces that I had sitting here. It was a black cover. They was waiting to get it back so that way they could do their full photo shoot and then start their promotional on it.
Wow, this is going to be so fun for you. I can hardly wait to see how it all goes.
Oh, I know. It's definitely going to be interesting. That's for sure.
Yeah, it is. It's going to be fun. It's really going to be fun. I was hoping that maybe Kim DeVoe from the Bahamas was going to be on tonight. She did her first show this last weekend, and the Prime Minister came by her booth, and his wife came by first and bought a piece of Kim's artwork. And it was a necklace out of coconut shell. And then the Prime Minister came, and she has done a cameo and gave it to him. And he had challenged all of the the artists on the island to do a cameo, and she did it. And he was pretty thrilled. And I'm hoping that something really, really good comes out of it. I'm excited for her. She did it out of a conch shell. And I've got several conch shells, and that's kind of what I've wanted to do too. So I'm hoping it works out well for her. And if I do one too, then that gives me a reason to go to the Bahamas, right?
That's it.
I think we all should go to the Bahamas. Debbie, your milk cans and artwork would go very, very well down there. I think they would all be so excited.
Oh, would they?
I think so. I really do. I think it would be really fun.
Well, I can paint beach scenes on a milk can. That's not a problem.
Heck yes. If it means going to the Bahamas, lady, you can paint palm trees for sure.
Yes, I can.
Yeah, yeah. I saw your latest milk can not too long ago, and oh my gosh, lady, you do so good.
Well, thank you.
Yeah.
The one I sent to California, the dairy farmer apparently cried when he got it. So.
Oh wow.
When you hear of a man crying of a milk can because it's his pride's cow, and you know you've done something right.
You darn right you have. You've done. Oh, that's really really neat. Okay, here's Lou. I'll get off.
Okay.
Oh, that's better, Lou.
That better?
Yes, we can hear you really well.
Good. Here we go. Let's try this again with music. Somebody has their mic open still. I can hear you breathing. Check your mics, all of you. Okay, part 2, upscale marketing. If the dream's big enough, then the odds don't matter, and that's the truest statement I've ever heard, ever known. You just got to realize that if you're moving in the direction where your heart is, your dreams will fit and you'll know it. You get a sense of the rightness of your pathway. And when you're doing it as a part of a group and becoming a part of an association of like-minded people, man, there's just nothing better. It just works so great. So the ID Network was started to discover, develop, master, and learn to share talents. And when you get started with people who are really, really capable, they come and take their classes and get started with ideas and concepts, and you begin to be okay with this idea and concept of making things work better. And you'll learn that your problems are part of the solutions. Now, I've mentioned many times that tracking your threads of interest is where things start to change for you. Because if you could creatively come up with, here you're painting an ordinary scene and turn it into something actually very extraordinary. But there's a million ways to take this concept also. And if you just begin to track those threads of interest and start to figure out where you can go with it, you will be, there's just no end. There's no end. Like really great music off of the piano with the limited number of keys, you'll find one thing after another, after another, after another, underneath your original thread of interest. When I ran into Kevin, he was working in a gym as a bodybuilding coach, but what he really wanted to do was draw, and this was his 4th drawing. And what I've done is have people engrave it in my studio course ever since. And I've used it so many times in different places and ways. And all I did was just reach out and take him by the hand and pull him up a little higher. Have him elevate his thinking a little bit and feel good about standing up on higher ground. My second design came out of James Meek's book, and I talked about that last week. I put this pattern without the squirrel on the side of the gun for my dad, and that's the one that launched the gun that I did for the Civil Air Patrol. When you can get an airbrush working to this point and you can begin to replicate graphics on such a high scale, such a whole nother look, a whole nother way of going at it, then all of a sudden you move from being a contractor for Delta Airlines to being the next up-and-coming artist. When Jim Griffiths wrote this out for me years ago in 1983, we were just barely starting the company. And up to that time, I didn't know what I really had. I'd push it every chance I'd get. I thought about it continually. I tried this and I tried that. I went after every direction I possibly could. But how can it be any different than this subject? We literally do create our tomorrows by what we think about today, okay? I've also encouraged you to begin to watch for fonts that really, really hit you. out of all the fonts there are out there, and there's thousands of them, there's some that are a lot stronger for you personally. And what that does is you begin to match your own taste with the taste of the kind of customer you're probably going to fish for. And it's a big deal. Everyone thinks, well, it doesn't matter. And I'm going, it does matter. People are attracted to fonts for a reason, graphics for a reason, images for a reason. And if you don't track it, you'll never, ever quite know. That which you cannot measure, you cannot manage. And what you're trying to do is literally track and begin to use more and more of those kinds of looks, okay? Also capture all graphic images that you like. Probably in my younger years in Boy Scout work, paddling a canoe around was the favorite thing in my life. There is nothing I like more than getting out and getting away, getting on the water, I'm a water nut, and watching what happens, how those things affect me and how they elevate my spirit, my attitude, make a difference. But you begin to see the pathway that you should choose by the things that you begin to gather and treasure. I can bet you as much as you want to bet that whatever you are interested in most now, that's the way you should go. You should take your career, okay? And even though it starts out so simple, it turns into lightning. I've began to play with creative and innovative lightning as a concept tonight. Oh, I like that. Because it's always these consistent little efforts by persistent people that make things work. It never is a huge flash in the pan. And that's not very stable even if it shows up. So how do you achieve big results from modest efforts? You persevere with the same effort. Perseverance is really nothing more than acting each time you have the opportunity to act. Perseverance is continuing to do what you've already been doing, and anyone can do that. Perseverance will bring great, if not magnificent, results, yet perseverance gets its power from the small and ordinary moments. Though you may not be able to do the whole lot in just one small moment, there's always something virtually important that you can do. So, if you knew your life's path, if you have finally found what you ought to do with the rest of your precious life, then you could measure every day and say, well, did I nudge it along a little today? Because you've got a target. You've got something that is central in your focus and your attitude. And that's all that I've done for these 38 years now, is take the idea of carving an eggshell and just nudge it, and I love it. There's nothing I'd rather do. But for a lot of people, they don't have that same sense that they're on the right path yet. So if you know where you're going, then you can always keep going. Though every excuse, every setback, each distraction, and each mistake, you can persevere. You'll get where you choose to go by staying the course at every opportunity. On the other side of perseverance is whatever you dare. Imagine and intend. In each small moment, use the time to persevere and harvest the great bounty of your own success. It's just right there. You wouldn't need any more counsel than this quote by Ralph. If you can just get this first thing figured out and then up the perspective of your targeting efforts, okay? Many people are disguised to discover that I am a real person living in the present-day world. Many websites these days seem to set up and hide the true identity of people behind them. That's folks assume I am some made-up persona and an old guy who lived 100 years ago. In fact, I'm pretty much a regular person with a yard to mow and a dog to walk. Some people get confused because I'm commonly use Ralph Marston as my name, but the copyright notices use my full legal name. My father's name was Ralph. So it's a real person, and so are you. And as you begin to realize you've got something, you've got something you really, really, really like to play with, and then you just keep doing that. Now, for the last 4 or 5 years on Google+, I've tried to encourage every one of you to find something like this. something that you could do yourself and post and put up every day or every other day or once a week or whatever, so that you begin to have a presence and a place in this mix of social media. Man's biggest mistake is to believe that he is working for someone else. Ooh, that's good stuff. Is that not good stuff? The irony of commitment is that it's deeply liberating in work and in play and in love. Commitment. I'll bring this up. And it's you that has to commit. Okay? It can't be convenient. Well, I'll just do it whenever. And if you do it whenever, it stays a hobby. It stays any road will do. You have to shift into that really dedicated, deeply involved category, okay? The Power of 10 Billion Dreams. How many of you read it? How many of you know who Ralph Marston even is? So, my prescription and the medicine I hand out, the passionate prescription, is get on a path that you love and then stay on it, okay? Senator Hatch has helped Brian Beatty in his process of beginning to expose his work to Europe. And Brian is getting ready to leave this week to Bulgaria again. This is his 4th tour. And what's so interesting is when I brought it up, and I said, Brian, what we ought to do is involve Senator Hatch. So what we did is send a letter to him, and then Senator Hatch put out this from his offices to all of the federal people involved in anything to do with him. And Brian has planned an exhibit at the National Museum of Bulgaria and will be visiting various countries during his trip where he would like to exhibit his work. He believes that the exhibit of his work will help create goodwill for the United States and countries that he visits. I hope that you will consider extending an offer to Mr. Beatty to exhibit his work to the citizens in the country where you're serving. I am certain that the people of the country will find his work as remarkable as I do. And right there is his engravable signature. Now, Brian and I talked last week about the possibility of when he gets home, we're going to do a videotape of how could I show my work in Europe. And there's a lot of artistic, creative people that have never even thought about going into another country. And yet Brian is really good at that. He's done it 4 times. He knows how it works, and he knows all of the potential problems and struggles. Wouldn't a sit-down session on video with Brian and teach you what to do and how to do it, wouldn't that be a really valuable asset? I think so. I think you have to admit that if you're watching for opportunity, good Lord, it's just unbelievable how often that opportunity actually shows up. When you learn to watch for opportunities, I just love it. There's nothing, you guys all know me, there's nothing I enjoy more. They had Donald Rumsfeld up on the national press during their Iraq war. And they had a camera on him, and one of the reporters asked him, when in the world are you going to get Osama bin Laden? And he just snapped, and he cussed back at the guy, and he said, damn it, we don't have a silver bullet for this guy. And it just hit me. It just popped me. So I went down to work and had the boys make me some silver bullets. And then I engraved Osama bin Laden's name on them. Then I sent him to Senator Hatch, and I had Senator Hatch personally deliver him to the Pentagon, and he did. Now, I didn't think that would roll into something else, but I did hope that he would eventually get Osama bin Laden, and it would be him and President Bush that would hand out a bullet to everybody involved. What a neat gift from a really high-level person in the country. And they missed many opportunities in the Bush era. Okay? Eccentricity is a characteristic that wealthy people all have. It's the dominant characteristic. And we all spend our lives avoiding it. We're so afraid of not fitting in to the social scheme of things that we avoid our own strong unique eccentricity. And I'm not talking about these guys here. I'm talking about just your own individual view. Your viewpoint of how things are is really valuable. If you can expect it and they can afford it, then you've got a deal, okay? Finding your own opportunity with that upscale connection is the issue. It is not an easy thing, I will admit that. But if you can't go through these 5 series with me and not get a little different slant on the opportunity that's right under your nose, and I absolutely guarantee it, it's right under your nose at this very moment. And if you can put your thinking out in front of your reality, then you've got a chance. That's how it works. You have to get ahead of your daily barrage of to-dos. If all you did this morning was get up and wade in and take on whatever got in the way, that's your day. And it is really hard to get from an as-is world to something better when you approach your process of thinking that way. If you can build it in your mind first and get a battle plan somewhat established, and then you begin to target and focus your individual efforts, you cannot be denied. Whenever I tell this story, I always chuckle inside because it's so eccentric. It's just absolutely the most crazy thing I could find or ever have found about money. China is the new center of global demand for racing pigeons. They want to have the best pigeons, own the best pigeons, breed with the best pigeons. After wealthy Chinese buyers helped push the sale of a 218 bird colony of his late father to a single auction record, euros, $1.8 million for 218 birds. In general, the top birds bought in Belgium are not raced in China. It would be too expensive to lose them, but their offspring are. The prize money in this world is enormous, Yi said. We have a euro $1 million race in Shanghai alone, with the winner get about half of that. And this racing pigeons? I'm going, what in the world? How does that even work? Why? What in the world is going on? Okay? So make a deeply held promise to yourself that you can and will become accomplished at something. And the trading part of the rest of your life will be with the top half of the economy. I just don't see how you could sit through last week and not realize that if you keep trading with your family and friends, you'll never, never have a business. You've got to reach up into the higher section of the economy, okay? The big money club, the reason it's so productive is they tend to flock together. They don't eat with us, they don't play with us, they don't fly with us, they don't golf with us, they don't nothing. This is the 1%, actually the 10%. 1% is really hard to get to. The 10% is plenty, okay? So today we're going to talk about the part of trading, the what part. This is Craig and James. Craig was commissioned to do a whole bunch of pieces for this huge, largest timber frame home ever constructed. It had an 8,000 square foot garage in it, and they put this beam. It was from a trestle of a railroad trestle in California, and they shipped it up and put it up in this fireplace. And then they had Craig come in, and Craig and James did the carving for it. And it's just the most amazing thing to watch when you start circulating in this crowd, how everything else ricochets and amplifies because of that. Because this piece is still sitting in that big fancy home. And Craig Hone is the designing artist. So from last week's show, who are you going to target? And how can you kind of make that move forward? When you don't know a Jack Solomon in your life, then can you bring one into your life? Is there a way to approach those kinds of people? Could you work on that effort instead of still trying to just mix with your individual people? Okay? There's Super Rich Bob out there, there's Well-Off Larry, and there's Gazillionaire Mary, and all they're real people. They really exist, but they're hard to get to, okay? So the study of upscale customers is kind of a never-ending study. Watch for what will help you get out in front of this really well-off crowd, okay? It's a fact of life and living. If you don't know how much Bob and Suzanne's life and living are, it will be very tough to trade with them. You've got to understand they're so different than all the rest of us. They have all the money and all the power, and we don't have either. And if you will at least sense that you're soft in this area, if you don't understand what to do and how to do it to start getting into that category or to be able to trade with the more well-off crowd, then you've got a really so much better chance of actually making it work out. I'm meeting next week with my old friend Mark, who sold his business for $234 million, okay? I've got another friend out in Vernal that's not making this kind of money right now, but he will as soon as the oil patch comes back around. He makes a couple of million a month. I've got another friend who has $80,000 a month as his personal income. So if you could guess what it might be like on a daily basis with people that have that same kind of income, you're going to be a little bit closer to spotting their own individual eccentricities. They have enough money to do anything they want. And the longer they've had that in their life, the more this becomes an issue, okay? If you've never read The Millionaire Mind and The Millionaire Next Door, this is the process of trying to figure this out by design. It's why I call it upscale marketing. It's a different perspective. It's a different way of looking at individual trading. And you just can't think you can just walk up and down the main street of Park City and you've got it, okay? This is such a fun moment. One of our members had carved an elk or a moose antler, and he was walking on the street by the post office in Park City, taking it to a art gallery. And this guy walked up to him right on the sidewalk, and he says, "What you doing with that?" He says, "I'm going to sell it." And he says, "How much you want for it?" And he had been giving it away. I had been nudging him and nudging him and nudging him to raise his prices, to try and get things up there where a well-off person is going to actually appreciate it. And so at least this time he said, "I want $20,000. The guy says, "Oh, I know somebody's going to want that." He says, "Can you meet us right here tomorrow at noon?" So he said, "Yeah, I'll do that." Well, the next day, he says, I was standing on the street corner by the post office waiting for this person to walk up and just absolutely positive they weren't going to come. And they did. They walked up, and it was Bruce Willis. And Bruce Willis bought that moose antlers for 20 grand and then took him to lunch on top of it. It's just, you just never know, but you got to be in Park City. This is where they play. This is where they spend money. If there's a lot of art galleries on Main Street of Jackson Hole, Aspen, and Sundance, and Park City, you got to know that's a better place to play and work and try and make things happen than it is to be out in Fort Duchesne, okay? But anybody could do something like that. We've got the tools and we've got the ideas, and when you see something that really pops you and you say, well, but he did it, but I can't make it work, boy, you're shooting yourself in the foot, okay? You just cannot take your life on that basis. Make one good effort. Do you think you could get to Warren Buffett? Well, the richest man in the world. I'll bet with one effort you can, but if you persisted with it, if you kept at it, can you figure out why these people are so hard to get to? If somebody's got a lot of money, what happens? Constantly somebody is after them, okay? There's a lot of people who figure out, well, if I can get to Warren Buffett, he could solve my individual problems. If I could get to Mark Bingham, if I could get to Jack Saul, Jack gets 100 appeals a month, formal appeals a month to fund things. And they get really, really tired of that. Really, don't bother me, okay? Their money separates them from all the rest of us, this top half and that very top 10%. It allows them to have the kind of lifestyle that we can only dream about, okay? 10%, remember, controls 70% of the world's wealth. If you even think about bothering me, the number one rule in my life with Jacob is I cannot bring anybody new to him. If I just show up and I'm expected, but I bring somebody else with me who wants to bother him, I would kill my relationship so fast, even after 30 years. It's the number one law. They get so much pressure. So many people are after them. So, what's going on in their world, not yours, okay? Trendy, demanding, impatient, stylish, branding crazy, they're usually very, very busy and always in demand. That's their life. That's what they want. So, let's look at this for a minute. The Phoenix Companies does a branding concept that helps keep track of the wealthy individuals. And this group of people, satisfied savers, are 60 years and above, and they're 24%. Status chasers are 55%. Altruistic achievers, these guys want to change the world. The secret succeeders are 17%, and the disengaged inheritors, these are the guys that got a lot of money. The 7% that inherited it, and they're unbelievably difficult to work with. I will not engage these people. I just do not like them. And then the deal makers, okay? These are fun to play with because they were once where you are, but you got to learn how to fish for them. You got to learn how to make it appealing, okay? Satisfied savers. These are the folks that you'd love to have as your parents. Well-adjusted and rich. They make up 24%. The average age is 60. They built their wealth through hard work and moderate risks, and they're very financially savvy. These are interesting people to trade with because they didn't get here by being poor traders, okay? The status chasers are a little flaky. They're a little difficult, okay? Their age is 55, so they're a little younger on most basis. They achieved the wealth through work and some inheritance. Want it all, but haven't been able to achieve their major goals. Define wealth as a level 3 times their current net worth. Now, that's the most interesting statement right there, is they can measure these people, and consistently this group will measure success, real wealth, as 3 times the current level. Now, that's an interesting statistic. And most would forget it. Most don't even pay any attention to it. But I'm going, how the hell can you mix with these people if you forget that kind of stuff? The altruistic achievers. These are the do-gooders. Most of us can learn from them. 17% of the wealthy population is composed of philanthropic who share these qualities. They're younger. They've achieved their wealth through work and some inheritance, good investments, owning a business. Owning a business. They paid the really hard price in most cases, but they want to use their help to change the world. The secret succeeders are also young. They're self-made, built fortunes through working in professional managerial positions, making 1 or 2 particularly good investments and not spending. They live below their means, so these are hard to see. These people are not visible. They don't hang it out there in front of the world to know. Disengaged inheritors, they're a little older and they're only 13%, thank God. And they're the second wealthiest and second oldest group. Okay? They lack goals and the drive to succeed. Grandpa made their money in most cases. This is usually a 3rd generation person. And they're extremely difficult to mix with. Their money and status makes them better than all the rest of us. This is the Donald Trumps of the world. You're fired. No, actually, if you have a fairly strong personality, these folks will be fun to know. They mix up 11% of the wealthy population. Masked their greatest wealth, self-made, and very, very, very self-reliant. Winner takes all attitude, confident. Is this not Donald Trump? And when I started doing this show, if you guys have been on with me before, you know I've had this up for quite a while. And it just holds so true, it's just scary. I don't know if you're not familiar with this stuff, you're going to have a hard time fishing for this crowd. You've got to find a way to extend your reach. What do you really understand, and what can you then bring into your life, okay? I've used this concept for years because today and tomorrow and the day after, 7 billion people traded their whole life away. All you have is the time you're breathing yet, and you can nudge it a little by every day by trading and moving in the direction that you want your life to trade toward. It is a sequence. It's the same thing as my innovative idea sequence. From one idea to the next idea to the next idea to the next idea will then make your life right over here. The old school, the first signal of trading was a business card. Now it is a .com and a social media presence. It's the most amazing transition I think in business history. It has just no longer is the business card the big issue. It's a .com blog and your presence in social media. This is what others would say. Who are you? When I say the name Randy Merrill, do you know that? Do you know who Arne Ufford is? Do you know who Darwin Dower is? Do you know who Greg Woodard is? Do you know who Craig Hone is? Do you know Al Hone? Do you know Sam Luth? These are names that are really strong in my own world. And I've taught you about every one of them. But you have to be able to talk about their presence, because what you're trying to do is hook your success onto the success of Craig or Al Hone or Sam Luth, because you start out with not the successful attractiveness, but you can literally tie your star, hook it on to theirs, okay? Most people are strong starters, but they're weak finishers. Only 3% of the population finish a project. Isn't it funny how 3% matches identically with the percentage of successful people in the economy? Persistence is a byproduct of self-discipline. Self-discipline builds character, and persistence creates success. Studying success principles and accomplished people, I've noticed there to be one key element that supersedes anything, and it's persistence. Persistence can help you overcome any obstacle. The journey of most people can be broken down into categories: the daydreamer and the starters, and then the successful. The journey of most people can be broken down into categories of the daydreamer, starter, and the success. The daydreamer describes more than half the people on the planet. These individuals dream of doing something but never get around to it. Since the daydreamer does not take much action, they are usually financially broke, confused, depressed, feeling out of control most of their life. They read very few books and attend rarely seminars or classes, and are generally in poor health. The starter describes 1/3. This person creates a goal and jumps in really strong at the beginning. But after a round of negative challenges or two, they come before any person that's going to want to achieve great things. The starter person usually quits. Since the starter person is starting things but not finishing them, these individuals are usually happy on the outside but sad on the inside, feeling as though life has some unforeseen forces against them all the time. The starter feels weathered and always on the verge of financial or career destruction. The starter is often well-read and educated. What success demands is that we are made of persistence. What's how we find out who we really are, okay? When you first start out trying to fish this crowd and begin to take a look at social media, and you begin to realize that when I started playing here on March 7th in 2009, I had 8 responses to my studio, was all. And yet my presence here under Dr. Lou or Lou Jensen is just getting stronger and stronger and stronger. This was my first site that Russ put up. And these were the things that I was playing with at the time. These are the things that I wanted to test and try and see if I could make them grow. Half of the economy are just like you. Do you know what you're aiming for? Do you know what's half the economy that you're targeting and what you're going after? What slice of the social economic pie is Oprah from? At least we all now know, don't we? Some people believe money leads to happiness, but not true. Once you're living comfortably, more money doesn't buy more happiness. The reverse, however, is true. Happiness leads to money and success. Likewise, so does optimism. Both enable you to solve problems, conjure ideas, take long-range consequences into consideration, and come back and try again and again and again and again if you miss the first time. It's the same. It is flat out the same. And these people are incredibly good to trade with because they've done it. People who've moved from a bad financial situation into comfort or wealth have resilience. They can overcome on the job. In their personal lives, in their finances, they don't deny that bad things can happen, but they're able to turn their focus to things over which they have control with the belief that they have the ability to affect change. The good news is you don't have to be born with resilience. You can learn it by controlling the things that you can control and letting go of the others. This last little while, when I got so sick, I was just so sick for so long. And at the point when you're almost at your worst point, the resilience is just the attitude that, okay, time to get off my butt here and dig in a little bit more and see if I can't make something work and keep going. Ever heard of social capital? It's the asset created when relationships between people change in ways that lead to action, generally for good. It's an important component of the difference, and the wealthy and financially comfortable not only have more of it than people living paycheck to paycheck, they know how to use it. They cast a wider net, socializing with neighbors, co-workers, people who can help them advance financially or in their careers. To get a share of social capital, you have to make time for people and put yourself forward, as a leader. You have to be willing to step into this connectedness and see if you can't use it in your direction. Passion is a key element that moves people from a life of financial struggle to one of success. The wealthy, simply put, want it more than the rest. Some want it in the form of money, but most are quite passionate about the careers they choose to pursue. And at a time where doing what you love may seem not so possible, it's important to know that you can learn to love what you're doing. Over the years, our brain has scored up scads of patterns. Remember how I talk it all the time. If you can recognize the pattern, you can solve anything. Information that tells you that if one thing happens, something else is likely to follow. We feel these signals in our gut, and we call them hunches. They're really our intuition, the sixth sense, that is more developed in the wealthy than in anyone else. You can learn to bring yours forward by adopting strategies like giving your intuition a little more room to breathe. Jean says that she has the best aha moments when she's not searching for them. My son called me yesterday, and that boy, oh my God, his thinking's eccentric. He's come up with an idea that is just profound. I laughed till I could have cried. I was so tickled to hear him rattle off another really great idea because he's got that kind of inclination. And when I told him that it was his ancestors that were shooting the ideas at him, he'd kind of forgotten. But I reminded him that your ancestors are just as interested in your life as you are. And these sixth sense intuitive ideas, they show up. The less you're really digging for them, the more often they actually show up. The habitual saving is the wealthy person in our study certainly have the funds to be crazy spenders, but most are not. Both wealthy and financially comfortable individuals say that saving more money has been an absolute essential financial goal of life as an adult. If you're not a habitual saver already, the difference will show you how. Continue to invest in yourself and in your business efforts. You will find ways to multiply yourself. Research in this book, when housing prices were cratering and markets were falling out of the sky, yet one lesson emerged again and again. The wealthy understand the need to take risks in the market, and in good times and in bad, in order to make that money work as hard as they do. And then the big one, the karma kickback. The people who get rich and stay rich are not just grateful. They practice gratitude by giving back to their community, to the organizations they believe in, and the people they care about. Even if you are thinking of something you view as mundane, like your job, when you think about it as a gift, you'll focus on what life might be if you didn't have it. So, when Oprah puts together a book called The Difference, and it's out there from her wisdom and her experience, there's got to be something more that you could chew on there. Something that would give you perspective that you don't have right now, okay? And when you're making the effort to figure this out, to say, I'm not going to back off here. There's 8 million well-off, super well-off people in this country. 8 million. And all you need to do is connect with the first one. That's all. Make a trade with a well-off upscale person, and everything then begins to shift, okay? This is not being appealing to everyone who is friends and family around you, okay? So if you take it as a puzzle and you can figure out the pattern, then all of a sudden you begin to figure out, how can I mix with that more, okay? Bruce Willis's home is up in Sun Valley. Is there a lot of wealthy people in Sun Valley and Coeur d'Alene? It's like a magnet. It's hard to even explain, except it's small town. They get to go run and not be bothered and have a life up there. They get away from all the phony baloney that they have to put up with to make a living, and they go to Sun Valley to have a life. The further a person is out of your sphere of influence, the odds go way down that you'll ever actually cross their path. So if you live within range of Sun Valley, could you study Sun Valley? Could you, in your mind, pick out right now Sedona, Arizona, or some place wealthy where the wealthy come to play and spend their time and their money, and then target that effort and begin to see if you can't figure out, and more and more and more, if you target Sun Valley, you're going to understand and begin to learn what's going on in this area, and it will help you then to target your individual efforts at your own marketing. It is a power and influence game. But the more you know and understand, the more it will all begin to make sense. This is Teton, the Teton Mountain Range. This is Jackson Hole. But Park City is the same way. And so is Sedona, so is Scottsdale, so is Santa Fe, so is Las Vegas, so is Lake Tahoe, so is Hollywood. This is where this super rich play. And this is where you have to have your life and your work and do your trading. It almost doesn't work well anywhere else, okay? And as you begin to track this pattern, I have taught this and taught this and taught this, and I don't even dare ask, because I don't know as I want to know, how many of you have an inquiry database, a customer database, a patron database, and a power person database, and they're watching it. You work with it. You know who the power people in your life are, because you tend to cultivate this. You're paying attention to it all the time, all right? Not much that is worthwhile investment. All this is a gradual acquisition. When I come back to the influence and the long-term impact of cameos on the entire economy, I try and every now and again I try and guess. I wonder how many cameos have actually been made in the world. And then I come back to my little idea of what if a cameo here was the granddaughter of a grandmother, and it was a profile of the actual daughter, because now with graphics and everything the way it is, we've got the ability to do that, gang, and yet no one's picked it up. When you start to pay attention and look at the luxury model, and know that my efforts are going to penetrate that upscale marketplace, and you begin to find one person, and then you pound away till you find the next person, and you begin to see what you can accomplish. All of a sudden, when Tam started to paint here and realized that it's not what we thought, because we spent the time with David Dean. It's different than what you expect. If you've never had a professional teach you how to oil paint, my God, why wouldn't you spend a little money and time and do that? And see if you've not got some ability and inclination for that? And begin to draw, learn to put it into position where you can get a little better and a little better and a little better, and then persist with that. When I started targeting Bill's daughter, he is a photographer, and I just could not, I couldn't, this picture just blew me clear off the planet. Still does. What an incredibly beautiful child. And when he started taking pictures of her in these classical painting categories, he gets someone does all her wardrobe, and then he does the photographs, and oh my God, he's on Google Plus all the time now and lives in Australia. And I just picked up one thing and began to move it in the direction that I can't trade it yet. But man, am I enjoying it. There's just, I found a side of me that after all these years, I didn't even know that I had the ability, okay? Make yourself a promise. You're going to go to the bookstore, you're going to move into the business section, and you're going to find one book about affluent customer trading and read the damn thing. Study it, digest it, tear it apart. Is that too much to ask? I think it's such a big deal, because you can just sit and listen, and it's like water off a duck's back. I'll make you a bet. They'll remind you of something that I'm also trying to teach you. I'll just bet you, okay? You'll see something in upscale marketing that'll be written over here in some national text, something off of Amazon, and you'll say, oh, yeah, that's what Lou said, okay? Because in the sequence of putting this, I've spent years doing this. And it's how it led me to Jack Solomon. It's how things changed the course of my own individual career. And no one can come along and do this for you, gang. If you don't have the inclination and you don't have the persistence factor, and these little challenges that I'm throwing at you, just tomorrow morning you can't remember and you don't do it, then how can you expect anything in this direction to work for you? I'm hoping that what you do is pick it up and say, you know what, I can make this work. I'm going to figure out how to make it succeed, okay? All right, we've gotten through step 2. Stop screen sharing, and here we are. Oh, mercy. Anybody got a comment?
I do.
I do.
Yeah.
Tamara,
I have something very exciting to tell you.
okay, let's hear it.
Okay. Kim DeVoe did her first show this last weekend. And when she had the Prime Minister of Nassau, of the Bahamas, come to her booth. His wife came first and saw a necklace that she had done, and absolutely went nuts over this this necklace. Put it on, was modeling it. Went and got her husband, which is the Prime Minister, and
Got him back
she
to her.
had been doing. she had been doing, now this is the most important part. This is going to be so thrilling to you. She had done on a conch shell the cameo that you asked her to do.
Oh,
Okay.
God. Oh, God.
And she gave it to him. She gave it to him. And she said, 2 years ago, you asked the artist on the island to do a cameo. And she says, I have now done a cameo. And she wants to go to a school where they do cameos. And we talked today about it. I started to just almost cry. I was so excited because that is something, you know how I feel about cameos. I have some really beautiful, rare cameos, and I am so thrilled for her. The Prime Minister of the Bahamas. Go ahead.
When she was here in class, she kept talking about that the Prime Minister had just called out across the land for someone to learn to do cameos. And that's what here. And so we got our studio started. We waded into it a little, but there's a lot there to learn and a lot to acquire. But if she got to a point where the wife was interested in it, oh my gosh. And is that not split for someone to learn to do cameos? And that's exactly what she's wanted to do.
Yeah.
And so we got our studio started. We waded into it a little, but there's a lot there.
Anyway, I thought you would be thrilled because you mentioned it tonight, and she has now done it.
Great. Excellent, excellent, excellent. Okay, Ron?
Yeah, when you were talking about perseverance, it brought to mind the Napoleon Hill quote, patience, persistence, and perspiration. That's what it is. Patience, persistence, and perspiration make an unbeatable combination for success.
And is it not true? My grandma Jessie used to tell me all the time, just hang in there. Just hang in there. And when I was younger, I didn't really realize what she was saying. But now I do. But it's hanging in there with the things that really matter. Steve Covey says where we all get sucked into is that the things of little consequence overpower the things of great consequence. It's this squeaky wheel gets addressed and dealt with every day, and we start getting sucked into just taking care of whatever shows up every day. And we cannot let that overpower the dream. The dream of where you're headed is up to you. If you're in charge of that part of your life and you take care of it and tend it and go in the direction of your dreams, you'll unlock influence and success in unlikely hours. Okay? And I've never seen it fail. That's exactly the pattern. Thanks, Ron. That's perfect stuff. Hey, Lance Larson, how the hell are you, dude? We've been missing you a while, son. You're working too hard, I can tell. Turn your mic on. Still can't hear you. Something's not connected. Push another button. There you go. Now you got it.
Yeah, it's just our time zones changed, or I should say, everybody else's time zone changed, and ours did not. And now all of a sudden, I'm getting home in time.
Well, Arizona's been out of touch for a long time.
Oh yeah, that's no doubt about that.
Yeah. How you doing?
Well, pretty good. Pretty good. Nothing new to report. I've got a big show coming up on the 1st of April. I'll be going out to have a table out at the Arizona Expo, which is kind of nice because there's about in 2 days there'll be about 10,000 people come through.
Yeah. Oh, that's going to be fun.
It's an outdoor expo, so it's going to be pretty good. It always is every year.
All right, take some pictures. Get them posted so we can all keep up with you, okay?
Okay, that sounds good. I will.
Excellent, excellent. Valencia, how's Florida treating you, dude? Can't hear you. Hit the mic again.
All right, am I on? Nope.
Yeah, you are. There you go.
I am? All right. No, I'm doing pretty good over here. Weather's kind of nice. Now with the new time zones, it's kind of hard to get adjusted to these things, but hey, we're doing all right. Doing a couple of little gun shows around here, and it's paying off pretty good. I have not done too much stuff with the wine engraving or any of the perfume engraving at all, but seems like my carving has been picking up a lot more, which is a lot more enjoyable to work with. So that's working out really nice.
You should have a really decent database now, Jose, and I would like to get you to 4 times a year put together something of what you're doing or what you've done and go back to all of those people in your database, inquiries, customers, patrons, and power people, so that you kind of now begin to cultivate your own garden of relationships that you've started. And I all think I shouldn't have to do that, and I'm going, they don't know. Their lives are busy clear over here. And you've got to make the conscious effort to keep everyone involved with something. So that would be a good next project for you. Okay?
Yep. Sounds good.
All right.
Thanks.
Good, dude. Good to see you again, Jose.
All right.
Come on, friend. Nick, did you get anything out of tonight's show? Some fairly wealthy people in and around Rochester?
Yes, there are. I still haven't figured out how to get in touch with them, and kind of the one opportunity I had, I'd say didn't work out so well, because I had an article done by the local paper, and it was in a special magazine that they put out weekly called the 507, and I had a real nice spread done, and then it came out Christmas Eve, and the co-op gallery that I'm involved with here basically closed their doors that day.
Oh,
so,
shoot. Oh,
right, the one primary direct contact.
Yeah, and then it drops out from underneath you the last second. That's always challenging. That is not. Let me tell you what I want you all to do. I want you to, after the show tonight, think about in Minnesota, think about where in Pennsylvania, think about where in Oklahoma do the super rich go to play. Think in terms of resort. Is there a resort within your range of your state, your regional area? And then let's target that. Every resort like that will have a magazine that is, I call it a mouthpiece for the trade area. So Scottsdale has its own wealthy gang of people. And there's people super rich that just can't resist Scottsdale. That's their place. And there's 2 magazines in Scottsdale, because Jose and I went and found them. So find a magazine mouthpiece for the upscale region around you where people come to play and show off. Like Park City, like Jackson Hole, like Sun Valley, like Las Vegas, like Lake Tahoe. Find that magazine, because in the next couple of sessions we're going to tear that magazine apart, because that's exposure that you need. You need to take what you know how to do and hang it up in an article in that kind of mouthpiece magazine, okay? So every one of you kind of make that effort and find what's in and around you that's like that. When you go to the top end of Michigan and you get around the Grand Hotel, we've been up there several times, and oh my Lord, the money in and around the Grand Hotel just scares you. Just absolutely, you get on Mackinac Island and everything is different, because you got to have a ton of money to play there. You cannot even live there without that. And there's several exposure magazines. I don't like newspapers. Newspapers are pretty soft. They're too fast. They happen and they're gone. But a magazine's a little different ballgame, because it sits in people's lives. And the Jackson Solomons of the world do sit down and look at those magazines. They do. They love them. And especially if there's something, a thread of interest in that magazine about them. So if all of you will do that, okay, it will really help you as I begin to pick that apart and try and show you how to get that additional exposure from those kinds of tools, okay? It will open the door for you. And having the magazine bragging about you with the upscale customer is how it's done best. Okay? Any other question or comment? We've kind of gone over a little bit.
Lou, on Mackinac, June is really a big month because it's the oh geez, now I'm showing my age. It is the Lilac Festival.
Lilac Festival.
Yeah. They have lilacs that are over 100 years old, and they're all in bloom in June. And in June, in Mackinac is really a big place. So if there's anybody that's close to that, that's where they should be.
Yeah. See, it's just a matter of thinking it through and saying, well, where do these people that have all this money and all this power, where do they go to play? And you can find that. That's not something that it may take a little digging for you, but usually you already know. And so when I started, I went to Jackson Hole and did a show. I went to Aspen and did a show, and I went to Park City and did a show. And I've talked about that last week. The Jackson Hole show was terrible. A complete bust. I didn't sell a single thing. But Park City, I sold $3,400 in 2 days. And you just begin to realize you got to play with this upscale crowd more and become more accomplished with it, or you'll never get your name and reputation going. And if you sit around and wait till your reputation catches up with you and it's an accident, you'll be dead and gone. Don't do it that way. Make yourself a promise. I'm going to get some serious exposure in front of this crowd this year. Not the ordinary crowd, the extraordinary crowd, okay? I think it's really significant. I'm dying today. I've got to have my drink. I've never. Okay, gang. Good to visit with you. I hope there's some meat in here for you. Don't take it lightly. I put this together over a lot of years, and I've measured all the master's degrees of success, and those who pay attention to this concept, these 5 steps, generally end up making pretty decent money. Okay? Thank you much, everybody. Appreciate your coming in and sitting down with me for a little while. Step 3 next week gets a little bit more. Oh, I got to do my extravaganza. I got to stick my egg show in there in between, and then we'll finish the steps, okay? All right, gang. Catch you later.